So I have a spooky story for you, and this one's coming out of Eastern Tennessee, which means we're in Appalachia. So it's the 1950s, and our submitter has a friend named Lynn. And Lynn is infatuated with this boy who lives in their town. She's been in love with him for like the last 2 years, and at the time of the story, they're about 16 and 17 years old, respectively. Now, this boy is a bit of a womanizer. All of the girls in their age group like him. He's popular with the guys, and he's generally well liked around this town. But for Lynn, this is something else entirely. She hasn't been able to stop thinking about him once over the last 2 years. In fact, she starts imagining a future with him. The only problem is, this guy never notices her. And when he does pass her in the streets, he pays her no mind. And that's kind of a problem for Lynn. So one day Lynn is talking to her friend, the submitter, and they're talking about any and everything when the topic of the boy comes up. So Lynn is musing to her friend about the future that she sees them having together and the kids that they'll make and how pretty they'll be, yada yada. And the friend's like, hey, all of that sounds fine and dandy, but this guy doesn't even notice you, so how is that gonna happen? So Lynn's disposition changes a little bit and she's looking a little dejected. Her friend tries to cheer her up and say that there are plenty of other guys who would love to be with her, but Lynn's not really having it because, again, she wants this guy. So Lynn's friend turns to her and says, why don't you ask your grandma to help you? So Lynn is like, no, I don't want to do that. She doesn't really do that kind of stuff for the family. And her friend tries to encourage her to do it by saying nothing beats a failure but a try. And so Lynn decides that maybe she'll mull it over. And if she decides to do it, she'll definitely go see her grandmother to see if her grandmother can help in these pursuits. So they end the night, her friend goes home, and the next day she goes to see her grandmother. Now in this area, Lynn's grandmother is pretty famously known for being a witch. Now the grandmother, along with a number of other people in this town, do not refer to her as such, but for the other half who are skeptical and or disrespectful, they call her a witch. But whatever the case, she was very good at what she does, has no shortage of customers, and she's in pretty high demand for those things that are a little more difficult to fix. So now her grandmother would never call what she does witchcraft, but she does refer to it periodically as conjure, root work. That time she'll refer to it as holler trickery or holler magic, but the gist is still the same. She has an ability to do things that others cannot, to include love spells, which is why Lynn shows up at her doorstep this one day. So as soon as Lynn's grandmother opens the door and sees her standing there, she gets straight to the point. Are you here about that boy? Of course, Lynn can't get anything past her grandmother, and she admits that yes, she is. So her grandmother invites her in, and she gets straight to the point. She tells her, I can't do anything except sweeten him to you. Now, Lynn's face drops because she's hoping her grandmother can do more. She's seen her grandmother do more. She's seen her make women become faithful, husbands stop beating their wives, and she knows for a fact she's seen her bring two people together. So why in this situation was she any different? Why couldn't she help her the way she helps literally everybody else? So obviously Lynn was really upset with her grandmother. And sensing this anger, Lynn's grandmother again straight up told her that she hadn't done enough living to know what she wanted, that this boy is absolutely no good, and that love would find her in a few years if she was patient enough to wait for it. But Lynn wasn't hearing any of it. She stormed out of her granny's house and decided she would take matters into her own hands. And why not? She had watched her grandmother do those things she does thousands of times. It shouldn't be hard to replicate. So the next day, Lynn got to work. She ran over to her grandma's house while she was out, stole some supplies, went back to her house and got busy. She went outside, grabbed a couple of herbs that she thought she would need, raided the kitchen for the rest, and went upstairs to her room. She did all of the things she saw her granny do 1,000 times before and didn't think twice about it. She also took some extra steps. She took off her undergarments and did something special with that. She lit 2 candles, tied them together, created a binding spell. She created a jar and slid it underneath her bed. She even slept with the herbs under her pillows. Anything that would help her in this pursuit of this boy she was so in love with. Do you know what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Until about 7 or 8 months later, he started showing up in places she would be. And at first she thought it was a coincidence, but then it seemed more intentional. And then a little while after that, would you believe that she actually got the guy? Everything she wanted, she got. The spells, plural, must have worked. But then things started to change slowly over time. At first, he got more controlling. Then she couldn't hang out with her friends. And then the day came where he put his hands on her, slapped her right across the face, bruised her cheek. He then wanted to get married, but at this time, she started to lose interest in him for a number of different reasons. He didn't really want to do anything with his life. He was always trying to control her. She had also started to fall in love with somebody else, but he couldn't let her go, and she couldn't understand why. One night, things came to a head when he showed up at her house in the middle of the night, but this time with a friend. He threatened her that if she didn't come outside, he would have her entire family killed. A part of her knew that he meant it, and so not wanting that to happen, she pleaded with him that she would meet him tomorrow if he would just leave. And he agreed, but under the condition that she keep her word. Now, the next day before Lynn is supposed to meet her boyfriend, she goes over to her grandmother's house to explain what's happening and see if she can help her. Unfortunately, her grandmother had to tell her that because she has no idea what she had done, she can't help her undo it, and certain things have staying power, and that's why you avoid them in the first place. So Lynn left her grandmother's house terrified. She didn't know who she could turn to, what else she could do, and she knew that if she didn't show up when she said she would, that her boyfriend would likely keep his promise on his threat. So Lynn showed up to the spot her and her boyfriend typically met, And unfortunately, this would be the last time the submitter would see or hear from Lynn, because a couple of months later, her body was found 2 counties over, bloated and left in the hot summer sun. Lynn had been unalived by her boyfriend. Now, the submitter thinks that all of it had to do with Lynn's love spells gone wrong, but it can't be proven. Maybe the boyfriend was just an obsessive asshole. But the submitter reasons that the grandmother knew all along, and one of the things she told Lynn before even attempting what she did, that the boy was absolutely no good, and yet Lynn wanted to have him. She needed to have him so bad. She ignored everything. And one of the saddest things the submitter told me is that when she's back visiting her hometown, periodically she'll drive past Lynn's old house and she'll see her walking around out there, and she knows she's long gone. So it's just unsettling overall. But I want to know what you guys are thinking. Could the boyfriend have just been an asshole with a mean streak all along? Could it have been Lynn's love spell gone wrong?